Welcome back to On Deck Circle Podcast, brought to you by the Fantasy Six Pack. I am your comfortable host because I'm sitting on my couch. But Jason, I'm going to cut right to the chase. There's a few things before I get to the cold open question of the week, because I am a world champion now. My Boston Celtics finished the job this past Monday. I was boots on the ground. I was there. I was excited. There was many times to be had. I am just so excited to the point where, like, there it is. There's me just ripping it. Like, and it's just, I came home to my wife and I said to her, the wedding was better. Because I had high expectations for the night. I was like, this is going to be the greatest night of my life. But luckily, the wedding is number one. This might be top 5, though, just because I've never truly been in a sporting event where my team won.
Okay.
So that's, unfortunately, this is not a basketball pod, and this is a baseball podcast. But the cold open question of the week, which is about to happen, has nothing to do with baseball and, unfortunately, nothing to do with the Boston Celtics. There's something else going on in my life, which you have done, and that is moving. I want you to tell me, what is the worst part about moving to you? Ready, set, go. All right, Jason. So let me hear it.
I mean, is there anything that's good about moving? It's probably one of my biggest, worst thing to do in life.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a feat, and I don't rent. I own my houses, and I moved 2 times in 2 years.
And you owned both houses?
I've owned all 3 houses that I've lived in, and I moved from one house to a house, lived there for 2 years, and then moved again to the house I'm in now. And the worst thing about moving, aside from the actual fact of like moving furniture and packing everything up, is transferring like all your bills and like getting all like the Xfinity setup, the ComEd setup, the Nicor gas setup, all that bullshit you got to deal with.
Utilities.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the worst, other than the actual act of moving. Also, we got a little love here for your picture. Joe's loving that.
Thank you, Joe.
But let's just bring this back up again. What was going through your mind in this real quick before we get on to everything else?
Yeah, I'll field any Celtics question.
I love the this is only one of the many pictures that you showed me yesterday after the win on, was it Tuesday night? Monday night. Also, I got a question for you too, real quick. When they lost Game 4, I was like, my man Nick is so happy right now that they lost Game 4. Am I right?
So there was I'll go on a quick little Celtics sidebar. I went to the watch party, so they had a watch party at the Garden for the game.
Okay.
There was part of me that wanted them to win that night because I was there with my wife and more people around me that
sure.
I would love to experience that win with. And something that's very funny is the Boston Globe, right? Like our big newspaper. This is not gonna come across well on this, but they wrote a story about like, oh, Celtics lose, blah blah blah. Who did they use for the image on the website? It is your boy
Just chilling at the watch party?
Just empty seats around because it was sold out, but that picture was taken at the end of the game. That's probably literally me just turning to my wife and friends, just being like, hey, can we get out of here? But this picture right here, man, it's going to be one that I think I will always have somewhere, like printed out something, just sitting at my desk, just because right there, believe it or not, is just pure happiness. I'm not a cigar guy in general.
Okay.
But, when you win a championship, especially in Boston because of the Red Auerbach cigar thing, you have to have one.
Yeah, that was what I was going to tell you. The other picture that you sent me was super cool. Was you, your buddy, next to the red statue. Yeah, that was sick with all the cigars and stuff.
Yeah, it was a great night, and I felt this way in 2018 as well when the Red Sox won. The ride is sometimes so much better than the actual championship. And these two teams are very similar because they were both wire to wire, best team in the MLB and best team in the NBA. So, it was just kind of like, okay, now we did it. Like, mission accomplished, as opposed to oh, my God, the Celtics are going to win. It was just like, thank God the Celtics won, because if they didn't, it would have been a catastrophe.
Well, the rest of the country does not feel sad for you and your Boston. I saw a stat. Boston had to wait a long 5 years for a championship in this fucking town. So, enough with the Boston Celtics talk.
Yep. I've got a parade on Friday to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The rest of the country doesn't care. All right, this is a baseball podcast. Before we get started, though, let's get into some business real quick. Do you want to get access to the most accurate fantasy baseball rankings according to Fantasy Pros? Right now, we're coming up. We got a good rest of season rankings out there right now. Dynasty rankings are popping off for that trade deadline. We get DFS betting projections. We get custom league advice on our Discord. Our Discord's super sick. Custom league advice. People are always dropping in there asking trade, sell, buy questions. You can get all that and more by becoming an all-access member today at fantasy6pack.net/plans. That is it for the business section. Let's get into this week. I thought it'd be fun. It's been a couple weeks, some scheduling issues like that. We've been away for like 2 weeks now. We've had some prospects debuting.
Busy.
Not some of the big ones that we were hoping for, but some other ones that are worthwhile talking about. And I think we briefly talked about this first guy here, but I think we just got to talk about it again because I think that's what we have to do here. That's Paul Skenes of the Pirates. I mean, this guy has been everything that was advertised and proving exactly why he was the number one overall pick in the MLB draft. In his first 7 starts, he's got a 2.29 ERA. He's got a sub-1 WHIP. He's got 53 strikeouts in 39 innings. He's got an average of about 30% whiff rate on all 5 of his pitches, which, don't get me wrong, he pretty much only throws 3 of them consistently, but it's noteworthy to note that all 5 of his pitches have around an average of 30% whiff rate. 27 of his 39 strikeouts have all come on the fastball. And I think he's just, if not any, obviously there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period, right? Hitters are going to eventually adjust to him, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can adjust to that, especially because he relies on the fastball pretty heavily. And I know it's a very high velocity fastball, but what comes in hard also leaves hard, which is why he also has a very high average exit velocity. But again, everything is advertised. And I think the biggest question to me I want to bring up to you is, we can sit here and talk about Paul Skenes all hour, but where do you think, now that we've seen 7 starts, where would you rank him if you were a dynasty ranker, in your starting pitching dynasty rankings for starting pitching?
Honestly, man, it's probably top 3.
Yeah.
And you could probably also argue top 1. He's
right.
It's like Tariq Skubal, him. There was I feel like they could be interchangeable. Then I feel like the 3rd spot could easily be anybody, just kind of like a Corbin Burns or Grayson Rodriguez. Those are the names that we're talking about here. But you're talking about a guy who this is going to change me in first-year player drafts. Paul Skenes right now would be the easy 1-1 in any first-year player draft. I understand you could still make the Wyatt
Langford,
but this is it, man. A 22-year-old bona fide SP1 for the next. He's got pitching prime is in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is wild. And I get that we've seen these things before and that injuries happen. But for a pitcher that's been this good, you need to just be like, okay, I'm just going to risk it for the biscuit and just go all in on this one guy. And he's one of those one guys. Garrett Cole was one of those one guys when he was on the Pirates even. Like, he's so good. I'm so impressed. I'm not going to say I was wrong, but I just don't believe in first-year player draft starting pitchers. But this one right here, man, he is the real deal. I am all over him. I think even he's probably going to be SP1 going into next season for Dynasty, unless he gets hurt.
Yeah. No, and you basically took what I was thinking earlier, too, is definitely top 3 for Dynasty. He's only 22 years old. And, again, the argument could be made even for number 1 in Dynasty rankings right now for SP. A lot of those old guards are starting to get old, right? Like, even guys like Corbin Burns and things like that are kind of not just getting older, but fizzling a little bit and not kind of being what they are. Again, I want to see him, go through this adjustment period that's probably coming up. It's only been 7 starts, but even I feel like his first start really good, right, against the Cubs, and then that second start there was a little bit of an adjustment period. He had a little bit of a hiccup, but then he, came back and rebounded nicely. So I think we've already kind of seen some of that transition period and adjustment period. So yeah, I absolutely agree. Top 3 for sure, and honestly, arguably number 1. Pitching prospect or pitching Dynasty asset going forward.
For sure.
All right, like I said, we can sit here and talk Paul Skenes all night because I think it's been so awesome. But let's get into some other guys here. Next guy I wanted to talk about here real quick is Tyler Locklear. Came up and actually made his debut last week. He was actually Seattle's 2nd-round pick back in 2022. He was really good in the minors this year. He's got a 925 OPS, 9 home runs and 33 RBIs. He's always had a really big power bat. He was drafted with a power bat in 160 games, 167 games in the minors, so roughly almost basically a full season at the majors. He's got 29 home runs so far already this year in his first 8 games. He's gotten the powers there. Right now, though, the problem is having, and it's like many rookies right now, is especially the power hitting rookies, a lot of strikeouts. He's got 12 strikeouts, only 1 walk in his first 8 games, which is good enough for about a 45% strikeout rate. But everything else, the counting stats, all that stuff right there, that's been really good. And I know I own a few shares of Locklear. I think I've actually grabbed him in the in my first year player draft back in 2020. It would have been 2023, so last year's. But yeah, I mean, I like what I've seen so far early on. Again, going to get strikeouts early because he's a rookie and he's a power hitter, but I think he might be able to make an impact here.
Yeah, this profile is just so great, and you always have to bet on this type of profile. And like you said, the power, you're always afraid that power won't translate from the minors to the MLB. This is not the case with him because we're seeing him hit home runs, hit the ball hard. So someone like him is definitely someone to keep your eye on, especially going into next year. If he can lock down a job like a full-time going into next season, he might be one of those trendy, like middle, late round first base picks that's going to get you 30 bombs, which late in the draft is super helpful. So he's definitely someone that I'm going to keep in mind going into next year. I have 0 shares anywhere right now, but definitely someone to keep an eye on, especially with that Mariners team. They're also kind of like a smart team when it comes to these prospects. And we saw how aggressive they were with Evan White, giving him. I mean, they were wrong, but they gave him that contract, so we know they're not afraid to do things like that. So I think being aggressive with Locklear is definitely possible for them.
Yeah, I was looking at his profile. We're getting ready for the show here, and a lot of his failures come against fastballs, which is to be expected, right? You go from AA, AAA, guys are throwing like low to mid 90s, or if mid 90s is like a top tier pitcher at AA and AAA. So for him to come up and see that consistently, I could see the struggles against the fastballs. Both his home runs so far have come against off speed and breaking balls, so that's always a good sign to see. Most guys, Joe Boo, right, a guy from Major League, can't hit a curveball. So if guys are still being able to hit curveballs and breaking pitches and off speed pitches, that's always a good sign to see. The velocity he'll catch up to eventually.
Exactly.
And again, the profile you said, the barrel rate and the hard hit rate doesn't qualify for it yet, but it would be up in like the 80th percentile, 75th percentile of hard hit, and so he's making good contact. So that's what you like to see from a power hitting rookie. And like you said, the Mariners, they like to kind of they're a little, I guess you call them small market, right? They're not the biggest market, but they were my dark horse back at the beginning of the season when we did that prediction show. So good to see them off to a good start here so far. Again, it's only mid-June, so let's not get too excited, but pitching's been really well for them. Somebody else that got a call last week, over the weekend, I can't remember exactly when it was, last few games. That's Adael Amador for the Colorado Rockies.
Yep.
This one, I'm going to be honest with you, he's not one of those guys that I'm really high on. I know some people were really high on him. I know Pipeline was really high on him. I think they had him ranked like top 50. I don't know. The call-up was really confusing. He was currently only hitting 194 in the minors this year before he got the call. He did have 22 steals. He's got an advanced eye at the plate, right? He's walking more than he's striking out, so you kind of see that, but the contact is just not that great. There's not a lot of power in his bat. Still pretty young, so he might be able to fill into that frame and generate some of that raw power into game power, but this is not someone that I was super high on. And again, I was a little shocked that he was called up this early, just after he wasn't tearing the cover off the ball in the minor league. So it's kind of a shock to see him get that call. But yeah, I'm future on his outlook going forward. And in all honesty, if I'm going to grab a middle infielder from Colorado, it's Ezequiel Tovar, who's actually off to an amazing start this year. He's especially with the power numbers, right? We always knew he was going to be kind of that 5 or 4 tool guy without a huge power, but I think he's already got 12 or 13 home runs in the middle of June in a season where home runs are down. So, and he gets to play half his games in Colorado. So yeah, if I'm going for a middle infielder in Colorado, it's gonna be Tovar. But I don't know. The Amador thing is a little weird.
Yeah, usually for call-ups, you get that little bit of excitement. You're like, oh, okay, I'm excited to see how this player does. I don't know if it's because it's the Rockies. I'm pretty anti-Rockies in general.
Yeah.
I'm into Nolan Jones and I'm into Tovar, but everything else, I'm just kind of okay. And so I don't know a lot about Amador. I know him because I play fantasy baseball and I know he's a thing, but not as an actual player. So pretty much out, other than the fact they plays for Colorado. So he might have higher home runs, and for a second baseman, that's good. But other than that, he's a nothing for me.
Yeah, he would have to come up and just make a huge impact for me to have any interest in Adael Amador, even in dynasty leagues, unless I was in some 30 rock or something. You might have some interest in him, but I'm not in these shallower 12, even 15 team dynasty leagues. Let's go over here to our next guy that just made his debut too, and that is going to be Drew Thorpe of the Chicago White Sox. Drew Thorpe now in his third organization in 3 years, I think.
It's his third organization in 1 year.
1 year. Okay, yeah. I was going to say 2 years, but yeah, it would have been, the Soto deal was in the offseason.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. Third team in 6 months.
2024.
Yeah, you're right. He started the season.
Padre.
Now the White Sox.
But
the White Sox are bad enough or are desperate enough, and actually it's deserved too. I mean, Drew Thorpe's been pretty good. They finally get his MLB debut. Did that last week. Actually had a really good debut against the Mariners. And then just absolutely got destroyed in his second start. 7 earned in 4 innings against Arizona. But that Arizona lineup's not anything to scoff at. They got some pretty good hitters in that lineup. But yeah, I mean, he looked pretty decent. The only thing that has me concerned is he relied on his 2-pitch. Yeah, 2-pitch mix and the changeup a lot. Usually pretty much the only pitches that he threw. Again, he threw more than just the 2, but relied heavily on the fastball changeup. And yeah, like you said, the changeup did look decent though. 3 of his 4 strikeouts are on that changeup, so I can see what he does on his third start. I think he's set to start like tomorrow or maybe.
I think so too. He's someone that I kind of hitched my wagon to just because I saw him once and he had a cool stash. So I was like, I'm gonna read up on him. And then I started like doing research and I was like, oh, this guy has like the best changeup since Johan Santana. Like it's that good. I think it's like a 70 grade changeup, like wild stuff. His fastball, however, very flat, not great. So he needs to work on that. And he's with a good team because of the whole like White Sox thing. But yeah, I'm still hopeful for him. Definitely not worried because of one bad start. Just keep him in the rotation. Let him work through it. We've seen this year, like Garrett Crochet has been great. Like, they could be actually building like a very good pitching staff over there. Like Jonathan Cannon, who's kind of like a random guy, has been pitching relatively well as well. So I'm optimistic about the White Sox starting pitchers moving forward. And I think that Drew Thorpe's going to be a huge part of them being good in the next 10 years.
Yeah, and White Sox have always been pretty decent at developing pitchers. That's been like one of their strengths. One of those like undervalued organizations, right? Like that have been able to not only draft and scout pitching talent, but develop their pitching as well once they draft them. So yeah, Drew Thorpe, I think, and this organization too, like they have no other, nobody is holding back. So they're going to give them all the, the time and chances they can get to develop. So I definitely like Drew Thorpe going forward. Like I said, something that I've been known about since. And for you as a Boston fan to be hitching your wagon to a Yankee prospect was kind of out of character.
I know. I'm becoming a better. Well, he's also no longer a Yankee, so that makes it even better.
There you go. Yeah.
Progress, just because I was like, that mustache, those uniforms, it's going to be sick. Now it's just like, it's the White Sox, but it's fine. I'm in on Drew Thorpe still. I think he's closer to the first start guy than the second.
Yeah, same. I agree. Let's go to the next guy here, and this one actually is kind of funny because we had a comment in the chat here from Uncle Ted. He called it out earlier, and I didn't want to spoil the lead here, but he's all in on Spencer Horwitz as well. I think this was one of those guys that he did have a small cup of coffee in 2023. I think he appeared in like 15 games, but he has had a strong showing so far this year since being called up. It's only been 9 games, but he does have 10 hits, 2 doubles, and 829 OPS. He's got a nice approach at the plate. He walks a lot more, doesn't strike out a lot. He's got a good quality contact, high barrel rate, high expected stats also support his approach and his batting average and all that stuff. However, one thing I will caution with Horwitz is there's just not a lot of counting stats. The power and the speed just aren't there for him. I don't know if it's ever been the player that he is. Never, I think, had more than like 15 home runs in a season. But yeah, I think with the injury to Bichette, there's another guy we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but Horwitz is one of the guys that like nobody was rostering very much. So to see him come around again, and at least off of ratios, it's always good to see from a young guy.
Yeah, Horwitz was someone that I was like into a couple of years ago, just like as like a prospect, because I was like, oh, this guy's interesting. He was on waiver wires, especially in Dynasty. Well, definitely in like redraft. But in Dynasty leagues about like a year or so ago, just kind of like hanging around. But definitely like an interesting player. Blue Jays, also good at developing. I am a little wary of the sample that we are seeing right now, just because it is small. But it's a good story. I don't think he's going to be like an everyday player, but he could be a great like platoon guy and definitely like a plug-and-play guy on your fantasy team whenever he plays.
Yeah, I was trying to see where he was today. Because like I know Uncle Ted, you're coming and shining in. He's right. He's leading off. He got the runs and the average. That's probably pretty much all you can expect from Horwitz now at this point. But hey, that's also very valuable. There's a guy that by the name of Luis Arise that offers those same things at a much higher price tag. So
he's 2-for-1 against the Rockies right now.
Who is Horwitz?
Yeah,
nice. See, look at that.
Like as the segment was starting.
All right, here. Let's see. We got another guy here, and actually, it's another Toronto Blue Jay, and that's Orelvis Martinez. I mean, if you've been playing Dynasty for, let's say, the last like 7 years, you've heard about Orelvis Martinez. This is one of those guys that I actually have either traded away or dropped in some shallower leagues just because I've gotten such prospect fatigue on this guy. But yeah, Bichette just went on the IL yesterday. Therefore, the Jays are going to calling up Orelvis Martinez. However, there's been reports now that he's not playing tonight in Boston. The manager came out that they didn't like the matchup against Brian Bayo tonight, so he sits tonight. I think they're off tomorrow, and then they're saying that they might get him in the game this weekend. The game's this weekend. Take that for what you will. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to rush him into a game after getting called up, but this is a guy that was always really high, expectations on. But honestly, I was looking at stats today because I got sick of looking at his stat lines over the years. But he's having a really, really good 2024 so far. 16 home runs with an 860 OPS. He's got almost 100 RBI plus runs already. And it's only the middle of June, so I think I like to see what they can do. I don't think they're going to really. Well, I shouldn't say that because they may want to trade Bichette, so they may rush him back, but. Between second and short, I think they're going to try and find some playing time to see what they got. Martinez, if Martinez can produce, then by all means, Bichette is out the door. So this could be one of those moves that is, hey, what do we got behind Bichette before we trade him?
Yeah, this is definitely a prospect fatigue guy, and it's very funny because he's probably like 22. Like
my bro checking in.
Is that your son?
My brother.
What's up,
yeah.
Bear? So definitely just like a prospect fatigue for me, and he's probably like 22, so it's like he might even be like 20, and he was just like an international signing at the age of 16. But he's fine. I'm out on Bo, so
he's 22.
Yeah, I really think they probably trade Bo, and then we just get everyday at bats for Martinez, which is super important for these young guys. It is so dumb when they call up these young top-ish prospects and they sit them like they against a right-handed pitcher. No, just go all in or you're out. Like don't like they need the at-bats.
Yeah, I'm looking at right now. He's been in the minor league system since 2019. So if you think you got prospect fatigue on Orelvis Martinez, it's because you do. It's been 5 years, and yes, he's still only 22 after being in the complex league as a 17-year-old. Yeah. I think that's when he was getting all the hype too. Is when he was an international signee at 17 in the complex league, rookie ball. But yeah, he had 2022. He had 30 home runs. 2023, he had 28 home runs. So the power's been there. We're seeing it again this year. I'm down to see what we can get out of Orelvis Martinez. Hopefully they give him some playing time coming up here, and Toronto's got nothing to play for, so might as well, right?
I'm with it.
All right. Well, that's all for the prospect talk this week, but we do have hopefully, I forgot to ask you to prepare. I'm sure you don't have a pick right now.
No, I do.
But okay, you do. Cool. Well, I'll go ahead
for tonight, though. Are you doing tonight?
I am doing tonight. Yeah. There's still a few games. I made sure it's only 6:30 here Central Time. So, and I was gonna put up I did not have chance to update our thing, but I'll still put up the banner. I'm 4-3, and I think you're 4-2-1.
Yep.
I think we both won last week.
We did.
What's your pick?
Can you go first? Because I need a
number. you gotta scroll your DraftKings app. My pick tonight is the Dodgers -1.5. They're in Colorado again. The game last night was insane. They were down, I think, like 9-1 or 9. It was crazy. They were down like 8-1, I think, at one point. And home runs galore. I would almost put a Dinger Tuesday bet. I think that's a thing only on FanDuel. I did pick Ohtani to go deep last night. It's what?
I said it's also Wednesday.
No, I'm saying last night I almost did it because there was like 4 home runs. I don't know if you play FanDuel, but Dinger Tuesday is if you bet a $25 bet on someone to go deep in a game, and then
you get 5 for every home run.
And it doesn't matter if let's say I picked Ohtani and he didn't go deep, you still get those $5 bonus bets if people hit a home run. And I did put not 25, but I put $5 last night on Ohtani to go deep, and he did. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but that's my bet tonight is the Dodgers -1.5. The game. Oh, my tangent was that the game was crazy last night. They were losing 8-1. Dodgers found a way to win tonight. Bobby Miller's on the mound, -1.5 Dodgers. Market.
All right, I like that. I'm going Cole Reagans.
Wear my Royals hat in.
Yep. 9+ Ks, which is
love it.
125.
It's that late night game. It's in Oakland.
Yep. So I think it's a great matchup, and Reagans has been great recently. I mean, he's been great all year, but like especially great recently. Real quick on a quick tangent, I know we're on that Reagans topic. Everyone in the beginning of the year was, super hyping him up, giving a ton of helium in those drafts, going like 5th round, 4th round, and he's living up to that hype. So that's awesome. He's been so great this season. So good. It's fucking wild, just like what a change right? can do to anybody, and like. It's not even like he was on a bad team. The team won the fucking World Series. Like it's not like he was like, oh, like let's get Jesus Luzardo out of like the Marlins, and then he like goes to like this successful team. But like I don't know. The Royals have been fun too, just in general. They've been popping off, and Reagans is one of the reasons. And I like the 9Ks, so we'll check in on that next week. Look at the calendar, actually. Hold on one second. I was gonna say no, it's not gonna happen. Our next show, I was gonna say the next show I'll be in my new apartment.
Oh,
but I will not be. It's the week after.
Oh yeah, good luck with the move. I know how much of a pain in the ass that is.
So we had 3 stools at like our on our island, and that's where I sit to do the podcast. So there'll be a new
podcast studio in your next.
Oh yeah, dude! We have a full new office. We'll be
nice.
We'll be looking official. I need to figure out like a cool backdrop. I mean, these ones are cool, but I need a.
You know what? Actually, I just thought of this. I was expecting you to come out today with your Celtics chain on.
Yeah, I thought of it.
But The picture was good enough.
And next week I can bring in some parade stories. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome, man. All right, we'll talk next week, man.
Yes, sir. I'll see you. How do I leave? I'm usually good at leaving.